In 1994, one of the largest media companies on earth paid $8.4 billion for a chain of video stores. At the time, it looked like a genius move. The combined company was worth $26 billion. It owned movie studios, cable networks, publishing houses, and now the single most dominant video rental chain on the planet. 16 years later, that same chain would be sold off in a bankruptcy auction for $320 million. Not billion, million. That's less than 0.5% of what was paid for it. This is the story of a company with 9,000 stores, 80,000 employees, and $6 billion a year in revenue. A company that had two separate chances to survive the future and said no to both of them. Before it was a punchline, Blockbuster was an obsession. It started in Dallas, Texas in 1985. Founder David Cook had one simple idea. Video rental stores at the time were a mess. Dim, disorganized, run out of the back rooms of convenience stores. Cook built something different: bright lighting, wide aisles, and a computer inventory system that could track exactly which titles were in stock, years before that was standard in retail. It worked. Businessman Wayne Huizenga saw the potential, bought in, and expanded Blockbuster at a pace that bordered on reckless, buying up smaller chains, opening new stores at a blistering rate. By the early 1990s, Blockbuster wasn't just winning, it was untouchable. Then, in 1994, media giant Viacom bought Blockbuster outright, in a deal valued at $8.4 billion, partly to help fund its own bidding war for Paramount Pictures. Together, the new company was worth $26 billion. Blockbuster wasn't just a video store chain anymore. It was a pillar of one of the largest media empires on the planet. At its height, Blockbuster ran more than 9,000 stores worldwide. It employed over 80,000 people. It pulled in roughly $6 billion a year. And a surprisingly large slice of that, close to $800 million annually, came from a single widely hated source: late fees. Customers despised them. Blockbuster couldn't live without them. That single fact, that Blockbuster's most profitable habit was also its most hated, would matter more than anyone in that boardroom realized. In 1997, two entrepreneurs named Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph started a small company out of Santa Cruz, California. The idea was almost embarrassingly simple: mail DVDs to people's houses. No store, no line, no late fees. It didn't take off right away. By 2000, Netflix had fewer than 300,000 subscribers, was losing money, and the dot-com crash had just wiped out investor appetite for exactly this kind of internet company. So Hastings, Randolph, and Netflix's CFO at the time, Barry McCarthy, flew to Blockbuster's headquarters in Dallas with a proposal. Netflix would run Blockbuster's online business. Blockbuster would promote Netflix inside its stores. One combined company owning both the physical and digital sides of movie rental. The price for the whole thing, $50 million. Roughly what Blockbuster spent administering its late fee system in a single quarter. According to both Hastings and Randolph, the meeting did not go well. Randolph has said Blockbuster's executives laughed us out of the room. McCarthy has told it almost the same way, saying they were just about laughed out of their office. CEO John Antioco has pushed back on that version over the years. He's said he wasn't personally part of that specific meeting, and that at the time nobody in the room, including Netflix's own founders, seemed to believe the company was actually worth much more than the number on the table. Whichever account is more accurate, the outcome wasn't in dispute. Blockbuster said no. Antioco dismissed Netflix as a niche business and waved off the wider dot-com moment as, in his words, completely overblown. He wasn't entirely wrong about the dot-com bubble. He was completely wrong about Netflix. Here's the part most retellings of this story skip over. Rejecting Netflix in 2000 didn't kill Blockbuster by itself. What came after did. Nearly a decade of contradictions. In 2004, Viacom spun Blockbuster back off as its own public company. But as part of that separation, Blockbuster was forced to borrow over $900 million just to fund a special dividend to shareholders. It walked into the most disruptive decade in its industry's history, already carrying enormous debt. That same year, Blockbuster finally launched its own online DVD by mail service, 4 years after turning down the company that invented the idea. In 2006, it introduced Total Access, letting customers return an online rental in-store and walk out with a new one immediately. It was a genuinely smart feature, and for a moment, Blockbuster actually started closing the gap with Netflix, but the strategy kept contradicting itself. In early 2008, instead of doubling down on the digital fight, Blockbuster tried to buy Circuit City, a struggling electronics retailer with nothing to do with DVDs or streaming. The deal collapsed within months. Circuit City went bankrupt anyway by the end of that year. Inside Blockbuster's own boardroom, there was open warfare over direction. Activist investor Carly Kahn had taken a board seat and pushed back hard against the online pivot, favoring the store-based business he understood. In 2007, that fight ended with CEO John Antioco, the same executive who'd turned Netflix away, forced out. His replacement, Jim Keyes, was, if anything, even more committed to physical stores. That same year, Blockbuster changed captains mid-storm. Netflix launched the thing that would define the next 2 decades of entertainment. Instant streaming, Blockbuster spent its final years finally killing off the late fees customers had always hated. But by then, it wasn't competing with Netflix for the future of movie rental. It was fighting just to keep the lights on. By early 2010, the math had caught up. Blockbuster was carrying roughly $1 billion in debt. Its own auditors formally warned there was substantial doubt the company could keep operating. Store count, once over 9,000, had already fallen below 6,500. And it kept dropping. On September 23, 2010, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. By the end of that year, it had closed hundreds of locations, leaving roughly 3,400 stores in the U.S., a fraction of what it once was. In April 2011, what remained of Blockbuster went up for auction. The winning bidder was Dish Network, a satellite TV provider, not even a movie company. The price, $320 million, for a company Viacom had paid $8.4 billion for 17 years earlier. By 2014, Dish had shut down every last corporate-owned store. Today, there is exactly one Blockbuster store left on Earth. It's in Bend, Oregon, a franchise location that was never corporate-owned, run for years by Ken and Debbie Tischer. When the last other franchise stores closed in 2019, theirs was the one still standing. It's since become something closer to a museum than a store. Worn carpet, a wall of movie memorabilia once donated by comedian John Oliver, and a steady stream of tourists who show up just to remember what Friday nights used to feel like. And Netflix, the niche business Blockbuster wouldn't bother buying for $50 million, is, as of today, worth more than $325 billion. Viacom didn't lose $8 billion in a single bad decision. It lost it one delay at a time. 1 quarter spent protecting late fees, 1 year spent fighting over who should run the company, 1 boardroom where the future walked in, offered to partner up, and got laughed out the door instead. Blockbuster didn't fail because nobody saw streaming coming. It failed because when the future asked to come in, the answer was no. And by the time the answer changed, it was already too late to matter. Viacom didn't lose $8 billion in a single bad decision. It lost it one delay at a time. 1 quarter spent protecting late fees, 1 year spent fighting over who should run the company, 1 boardroom where the future walked in, offered to partner up, and got laughed out the door instead. Blockbuster didn't fail because nobody saw streaming coming. It failed because when the future asked to come in, the answer was no, and by the time the answer changed, it was already too late to matter.